When Elizabeth May won the leadership of the Green Party, the longtime eco-activist promised she would put the Greens in the national spotlight and work for change. Well, she's trying, but politics is all about striking a balance and knowing you can't make everyone happy all the time. The CBC's Leslie McKinnon has this feature profile.
I'm going to try to do some homework before we leave.
In many ways, Elizabeth May is just your average working single mother who likes to bake her own bread.
Right.
Yeah.
What day do you get back?
Saturday.
And I'm in Calgary.
Yeah. And then you're in Amsterdam.
I know, then I'm in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you today?
Perhaps what's not so average about the new leader of the Green Party of Canada is that she hasn't owned a car since 1980. She will not use a cell phone. She'll go by train to Montreal in the morning and return to Ottawa late at night by bus. In August, Elizabeth May won the Green Party leadership by a wide margin.
My daughter said I shouldn't say this, but I can't resist. You know, it's my party, and I'll cry if I want to.
Remember the Green Party's former leader? Maybe not. Yet, even with a leader few Canadians could name, the Green Party picked up almost 5% of the votes last election.
I think there's more potential for a party like that to succeed than there has been in decades.
Bruce Anderson of Decima Research has seen a new trend. His polls show that the baby boomers are saying quite fervently that they feel a need to take more responsibility for climate change, which they think they, as a generation, have partially caused.
In effect, we've got as many 50-something environmentalists today as we have 20-something environmentalists. And it's that group, as well as younger Canadians, who are saying, the Green Party is a party that I could consider supporting.
To attract these potential voters, Elizabeth May plans to be as visible as possible, a press conference once a week, and regular appearances in the foyer of the House of Commons.
Not only does somebody have to have a vision, somebody has to...
But with no Green Party MPs in the House, she's not supposed to give clips to reporters, not in the foyer.
So this is where I get to hide out. I'm not in the foyer. I have to stay outside of the foyer. There's a secret.
Mostly, she gets ignored. But she swears she'll be there every day she's in Ottawa.
I'm going to be going out of town for a couple days, so it'll be David Chernenko this week. Thank you. I'll see you later. Hey.
It's not difficult to figure out where this penchant for getting noticed comes from. It's in her blood.
There's another dead tree.
The greatest influence in her life, she says, was her late mother, who helped start the anti-nuclear movement in the United States. Her mother eventually campaigned for the Democrats with Bill Clinton, who used to come to their house in Connecticut.
So this gorgeous young man is standing on the front steps of my house, and I'm 17 and he's 26 and he's at Yale Law School, and I just had a huge crush. And I got to work with him a lot. He became a good family friend.
The May family moved to Cape Breton in the 70s to start a restaurant in an old schooner where the young Elizabeth worked as a waitress.
I'd like to introduce Miss Elizabeth May.
By her early 20s, she was protesting the insecticide spraying of Cape Breton's forests.
Now, in 1952 in New Brunswick, they had a budworm epidemic in the northern part of the province, and it covered 200,000 acres.
Later, a group of Cape Breton landowners, along with Elizabeth May, who was by now a law student, took the forest company to court. But they lost, and May's family had to sell some land to pay the costs. She looks back on it as the worst time in her life.
So we lost 80 acres. It wasn't that it was a court-ordered action. The court was ordering we come up with $15,000. So that was really awful. I mean, and my family never recovered financially from the whole thing.
She left Cape Breton, moved to Ottawa, became an environmental activist, and spent 17 years as president of the Sierra Club. The issue of climate change, she says, just disappeared during the last election. So she decided to enter politics herself.
If I was given a choice between, someone waves a magic wand and says you can have 10 seats in the House of Commons, or you can get Canada to meet its Kyoto targets, I hate to tell you, I picked Canada meeting its Kyoto targets because that's real and it needs to be done.
This will be specific to policy areas to develop the platform.
But here's Elizabeth May's dilemma. If the Green Party doesn't win seats but often collects up to 10% or more of the vote, it likely splits the vote in some places. Should it even run in very close ridings if that allows someone unfriendly to the environment to win?
I struggled with this before deciding whether or not I should run as leader of the Green Party because I am very, very much the thought of a Stephen Harper majority for Canada, it frankly scares the hell out of me.
If in the next election you believe that in certain ridings people should not vote Green because it will split the vote and it might deliver the Conservatives a majority, I mean, what are you going to do?
Well, I've already indicated to other political party leaders, talk to us. If you've got ideas, talk to us, we're open. And I've told the membership, and when I ran for the leadership, I didn't hedge on this point. I thought it was important for people to know that I think we should be open to coalitions.
Hi, Paul.
Yes. Hi. How are you? Nice to see you. How are you making out?
But coalitions with who? Some say that in the past, Elizabeth May, as an activist, has sided with the Liberals when it made sense to her, and at other times with Conservatives.
You have to follow up. They may not be real. For each member of Shadow Cabinet...
It's true that over the years, Elizabeth May has befriended politicians in various parties. Give credit where credit is due, she says. Paul Martin's Project Green Plan was a good idea. She was once a policy advisor for the Mulroney government. This year, she helped nominate Brian Mulroney as Greenest Prime Minister.
The Rio process with the Framework Convention on Climate Change and saving the Convention on Biodiversity. Quite personally, Mr. Mulroney, you saved the Convention on Biodiversity. And I'm going to close on this because I sometimes think we forget this one, and it's not necessarily environmental. But I often wonder if Nelson Mandela would have died in jail if it weren't for you.
You got quite emotional.
I did indeed.
Do you think some of the people, whether it's the Green Party or the environmental movement, would look at that and cringe?
Sure, because there's some people who hate Brian Mulroney at a level that exceeds sense. That's what I think. It's one glorious thing about being over 50 is when I was younger, I actually cared much more whether everybody liked me or not. So I know that I've had columns since I became leader of the Green Party saying, don't trust her, she worked for Mulroney, she's from the right. And then there have been other columns saying, don't trust her, she's a lefty.
Bruce Anderson says Canadians may be ready for a party that isn't necessarily polarized on the left or the right.
I think that there's a very strong case to be made that Canadians would prefer that politics was less partisan, that it was more forward-looking and less backward-looking. And again, the whole question of the new environmentalism as we see it is less about placing blame and assigning responsibility for past failures and a lot more about let's get on with it. Let's find progress where we can, and let's not toil so much over the details and the credit, but let's get on with it.
It is a huge step from activist to politician. There's another part of Elizabeth May that she says sustains her, and it's her deep religious faith.
If you're a politician and you talk about Jesus, that's good.
She's a devout Anglican and is working on a theology degree at St. Paul's University in Ottawa.
And from the second letter of James, do you work only through faith and then you're unbalanced? Do you work only through reason and then you're unbalanced? This is where I draw my inspiration. This is where I draw my guidance. But I wouldn't impose my particular faith on anyone else. I actually do work at loving my enemies. Yes. My brother always says every single person you meet is a blessed child of God, even if some of them are disguised, really cleverly disguised as a complete son of a bitch. But, you know, somewhere there's someone you can love.
Here's something you can bank on with Elizabeth May. No one can say she's not taking part in the political life of the country between elections, an accusation made about the Green Party in the past. Expect to see a lot more of her